Hundreds of people packed into the basement of Ely's Community Center to voice their opinions on potential changes to the status of the timber wolf. Once nearly extinct, there are now over 60% more wolves than some experts feel is sustainable. That means the wolf may be removed from the endangered species list in the next few years.
Tonight, what we'll do is show about a 25-minute slide tape presentation. It'll describe the history of wolves in Minnesota, their present status, and most importantly, the future planning process and how the department is going to approach preparing for eventual federal delisting of the wolf.
The majority of the crowd at last night's meeting favored the delisting and regulation of the wolf population. However, supporters of continued protection for the animals also spoke up.
I think we in Minnesota should realize that having wolves here is an asset.
3 of northern Minnesota state legislators made no attempt to hide what side their sympathies are with.
So I support the public taking of wolves through trapping or hunting or whatever means we can get through the legislative process to get the numbers down to a sustainable level.
So I think we do need a new management plan. And I think if anyone watched the slides put on by the department, that it made a very, very good case that there should be a reduction in the number of timber wolves.
I told Senator Jean Merriam from the cities, who has been on the LCMR, that when the wolves eat your Spunky like they ate my dog Spunky, then you'll know what to do with timber wolves.
If you'd like to make your opinion on the wolves known, another meeting is scheduled for January 13th in Duluth. In Ely, Dave Anderson, Channel 6 News.
Last year in March, I think, and the timber wolf population has exploded beyond anyone's imagination to the point where now they're all be known here to hunt. So I think
my grandkids spend a lot of time out there. I usually let my German Shepherd run loose. If anything ever happened to them kids or that dog, that wolf would be history.
When some individuals in his neighborhood became aware that he was being considered for a job in Silver Bay, apparently they contacted the authorities in Duluth, and he became aware of it and immediately contacted me and asked for a meeting to discuss this issue.
Well, obviously the legislature has overtaxed the taxpayers, and we're saying since there is this excess money, it should be given back to the people who originally paid it. It would mean $300 coming back to each individual.
Daniel Clute was a substitute teacher at Lakeview Christian Academy until 1996. While teaching there, he developed a trusting relationship with many students and their families. In fact, parents from this school felt so secure, they actually let their children sleep over at his home. What parents didn't know was that he pled guilty in 1992 to furnishing minors with alcohol. The report also said Clute would sometimes show minors pornographic movies. Last summer, Clute began looking for a full-time teaching job here at Mary McDonald Elementary School in Silver Bay.
To me, I think he would have made a terrific teacher. That's my gut feeling.
But there was something else school administrators didn't know. Investigators from the Duluth Sex Crimes and Abuse Office received reports that a former student of Clute's was claiming to be molested. That was until more allegations began to surface.
When some individuals in his neighborhood became aware that he was being considered for a job in Silver Bay, apparently they contacted the authorities in Duluth, and he became aware of it and immediately contacted me and asked for a meeting to discuss this issue.
Clute never worked a day in Silver Bay. A month later, on October 31st, he was charged with 2 counts of second-degree criminal sexual misconduct. The first victim claims that Daniel Joseph Clute fondled his genitals for a half an hour while he was sleeping. In the meantime, Clute's wife was upstairs in bed. The 8th grade victim says he pretended he was sleeping because he was afraid and didn't know what to do. The second victim cited similar incidents, saying that Clute would have him and other boys over to wrestle, wearing only t-shirts and boxer shorts. The young victim claims that Clute would reach into his shorts and touch him. We talked with Clute, and he says he wants to tell his side of the story, but he has been advised by his attorney not to talk about this case with the media. Adam May, Channel 6 News.
Please take a look at them and fill them out and tell us what you think. With that, I'd like to turn it over for moderation to President Conhorn, your wildlife manager.
State and county land in our counties up here at St. Louis and Cook and Lake County.
At this time, also Senator Doug Johnson would like to say a few words to the
We know that community policing, such as the type we now have, works to deter crime. The grant monies we receive help make community policing a reality here, and we've seen immediate results.
A chimney fire destroyed Chris Butterfield's rural Barnum home Sunday night.
It sounded like popcorn or something. I had shut all the lights off and I could see a light in the living room. And I looked in a kind of through the glass, and it was reflecting fire, you know.
Chris saved himself and his dog Tila from the blaze despite his considerable limitations. A construction accident in 1991 left him wheelchair bound. He had built the house from the ground up before his accident. Chris's brother-in-law could see the house burning from his home a couple of miles away.
We left our house here in town and we could see the glow over those trees and over that big building down there, and we got a really bad feeling, you know. Then when we got up on the highway, there was no doubt we knew it was totally gone.
David Anthony says he and his wife raced to the scene, fearing that Chris might not have escaped.
Really worried. That was our first concern, and we broke a few speed limits getting out there, I'm sure of that, but Yeah, once we got there, we could see him sitting back by his van, so we knew right away that he was out and okay.
Chris has limited use of his hands, and that allowed him to get in his wheelchair to make his escape.
I was pretty close to the door, 30 feet away. Yeah, the house wasn't filled up with smoke or nothing yet.
Butterfield made it out alive, but he lost everything else in the fire. Donations are being taken at a local business to help Chris get things back to normal, but he says he'll be fine.
Oh, I'll survive. I've survived worse things.
Not too many people can say that after losing their home and truly mean it, but Butterfield can.
He's been through worse than this. I mean, the fall where he broke his neck and was crippled up, must have been much harder to deal with than this.
In Barnum, Justin Acree, Channel 6 News.
That we're a bedroom community. We like that. We intend to stay that way. We have no hopes of trying to be an industrial park or anything along that line. We're just very concerned that we keep what we've got. At this time, we're a bedroom community. We like that. We intend to stay that way. We have no hopes of trying to be an industrial park or anything along that line. We're just very...
Kids the opportunity to come face to face with someone who had done something that they were very angry about. And we think that that's a way of providing closure and providing an opportunity to move forward for those kids. They're going to live in this environment and in those schools.
So then everybody will be... Our plans going with that.
Oh, good, except that's what we're so busy about.
Yeah.
We're moving people.
Like most families, this family is gathered around their television to watch a movie. But on this night, no one had to run to the video rental store. They're picking their movie from an on-screen menu because a new technology being developed and tested in Hibbing is turning their television into a virtual video store.
Now you can actually select the show you want to watch, when you want to watch it, and control that show.
The beauty of the system, a viewer can fast forward through credits, pause to run for a snack, or rewind to see a favorite scene again. Beyond watching TV, the same cable system allows a family to surf the internet together, and it's even faster than many computers. Changing websites is almost like changing channels.
It's 300 times faster than the telephone network, and it's online all the time. There's no dialing in, there's no going online, there are no long distance issues. Everything is there at the back of your TV set 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
The new technology is called streaming video, and its first use in people's homes is happening in Hibbing because of an extraordinarily high saturation of cable TV. More than 95% of all Hibbing residents subscribe. Several corporate giants are investing in Hibbing's interactive cable system as well. It could also be useful in other areas like job training tapes, college courses, even department store shopping. In all, it takes just a few months to wire up an entire community with the interactive cable system.
Given all the applications, things like information on demand and education on demand and entertainment on demand, it's going to take off. It's just a question of when.
Soon, Silicon Valley may be looking to our region for the newest on-ramp to the information superhighway. Jason Rice, Channel 6 News.
It's more than a job, it's a lifestyle. I love what I do and I'm proud of my job. We try to do it in an environmentally sensitive manner, and a lot of people don't realize what goes on up here.
To accomplish with the renovations, I guess?
Well, actually, what we're really trying to do is jumpstart the old downtown or help out with that. Get the old downtown. They're looking for an arts and entertainment district. We feel that with opening the North Shore Theater as an independent film theater, that we'll be able to start the flow going towards that direction.
I'm Tom Hansen here just outside the Packers headquarters here at the Sheraton. Fans are flocking all over the country here. The Packers, of course, taking on Denver on Sunday, Super Bowl 32. We had a chance to talk with Duke Kopp, who's an accountant with the Packers, a big Packer fan from Maple, Wisconsin. And Duke, this is going to be an exciting time for you and obviously the organization.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. This is the second time, so it's a little, we handle it a little bit better, but it's still a great time.
Duke, you're a long way away from Maple, Wisconsin. It has to be, can you believe what's happening, not only to yourself?
It's hard to believe sometimes, but it's a great thing.
Packers over Denver, obviously, on Sunday, right?
We hope so.
Tell us about all the fans. It's got to be crazy here all week with all the fans outside the hotel.
It has been. I guess that's what I've heard.
When you were going to school at UWS, do you ever imagine something like this here, being at the Super Bowl and handling things with the Packers?
Oh, not at all. I just took a shot once and sent a letter down here to the Packers and got the job.
These guys seem to be generally nice guys, to work with, and obviously you work with them on a different level, and I'd imagine that they're the same way with you.
Oh yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, I've gotten used to them being the professional athlete. I mean, they're just people, so that makes it a lot better.
Sunny and 70s here, Duke. This isn't Wisconsin or Superior weather, is it?
Not at all. It's a lot better than that. I heard we had some snow back there today, so.
Well, keep up the great work, and thanks for spending time with us.
Sure, thanks a lot.
Duke Kopp of Northwestern High School here, a member of the Green Bay Packers staff. We'll have more live from the San Diego Marina later in the show.
Now, if we balance the budget for next year, it is projected that we'll then have a sizable surplus in the years that immediately follow. What should we do with this projected surplus? I have a simple four-word answer. save Social Security first.
When she first saw the smoke. And I got out of the shower because then I saw the smoke coming from Ron in the shower. It was coming right through the tiles.
Like others living in the apartments at 1721 Tower Avenue, Dan Best was forced out of his home by the spreading flames. His neighbors looked on as his home was charred.
Trashed. Everything's gone. All my clothes, all my books from school, you know, all my stereo stuff, everything's gone.
Tenants of the apartment building could only stand and watch, but the thick smoke told a grim story. Personal belongings are lost, and for 10 households, it's time to start the long recovery process. Jason Rice, Channel 6 News. Several residents narrowly escaped a fire in the apartment building at 1721 Tower Avenue. Fortunately, no lives were lost, but 10 of the 12 units were rented out, and all of those tenants are forced to start new households. It's a process made much easier by renter's insurance, something fire victim Dan Best says he'll invest in immediately.
I heard there wasn't a whole lot of people who had renter's insurance either. It's kind of a shock that you got elderly people living in the building. They lived there for who knows how many years. Yeah. They lost everything they had. Where are they going to go? What are they going to do now?
Many of the residents at the 1721 building didn't have such coverage, so the Salvation Army, the Red Cross, and other organizations are pitching in, helping fire victims start over. But that assistance can only go so far. As devastating as it is that a fire swept through this building, sending all the tenants out of their homes, it's even more devastating still that for a policy costing about $3 a month, they could replace everything they owned.
Renter's insurance is a pretty inexpensive policy. For probably around $100 a year, you can get a renter's policy.
Eng says a $100 policy takes a big drop in price if you have car insurance or other policies with the same company. In many cases, renter's insurance costs $30 to $40 a year, and insurance for renters covers much more than just the items you might lose in a fire.
With a renter's policy, you get not just your contents coverage, but you get liability coverage, loss of use coverage. So these people that are out in the cold, it also would pay for the trouble they're going through to have to stay somewhere else.
A person may never need to cash in on their renter's insurance policy, but for those who have lost everything, it can make the road to recovery much smoother. Jason Rice, Channel 6 News.
It's National Heart Week, and the theme for the week was hearts. So we wanted to bring them to the hospital, or the Duluth Clinic, and talk about hearts and let them learn everything there is to know about hearts.
Smith.
Hoping to find a job. Hopefully I don't have to leave the area. I'd like to get on with the union around town. Family and friends live around here, and I like the neighborhood. I like the weather.
Like most of the Lake Superior College students building this house in Rice Lake Township, Dave LaPlante hopes his education will turn into a job locally. This year, the weather's been perfect for learning the construction trade, and the house they're building will be done just before these students move on.
Well, that first job, they need to find that entry-level job, and that's the hardest for them. We work with them in skills and all that, but to find that entry-level job, that's the hard thing. And they take job seeking and keeping class.
Carpentry instructor Tim White is as eager as the students for them to find work right out of school. His job literally depends on it. If job placements don't happen, the entire carpentry program is in jeopardy.
The state mandates that we place at least 60% of our graduates. If we don't, it indicates there's not a need for our program in the local economy, so they would close down our program.
One new thing in the construction industry, you can find jobs online.
Our students are a certain amount of computer literate, and so that they can work the internet and scan it and find jobs locally and also across the whole nation.
The industry is competitive, but LSC students are getting a leg up on the rest of the field, getting educated as they chase their own American dreams.
It is fairly competitive up here with the seasons and all. Come around winter, usually people start getting laid off, so it'll be rough, but with this class, I should have better chances than other people.
Barbara, members of the Earth First Environmental Group arrived here at Little Elfie yesterday late in the evening. However, this morning they were very discouraged when they found out that the logging was not going to begin here. According to Tony Vukolich, the man who bought the logging permit for $200,000 from the U.S. National Forest Service, he says that his logging contractor is currently working on a different project in Chisholm and won't be able to make it to the Little Elfie logging site for quite some time. He says as soon as that other project is completed, he will come here to start the logging. But for right now, the State Patrol is standing by just in case the protesters do decide to come back to Little Elfie. We'll have more on this, plus have an update of last night's rally coming up tonight at 6. Back to you.
Food, it's needed to survive. But did you know the foods you eat could improve your love life? In the book Intercourses, food is used as a sensual aid to romance. Flipping through the pages, you'll find some common aphrodisiacs, such as chocolate, which contains phenylethylamine, a chemical that courses through the body when you're in love or eating chocolate.
Chocolate means comfort. I guess you want to comfort the one you love, so no, chocolate's very much a comfort food. People come in and they're seeking comfort through it. And it's just good. Addictive almost.
So maybe you knew about the powers of chocolate, but what about asparagus, chilies, or black beans? Yes, black beans, which are supposed to increase fertility.
It's very popular, actually. In fact, they sell black bean soup from all ages, all people, guys, girls. Sometimes the wives don't like the husbands to have too much of the black bean soup, but...
You'd think it'd be the other way around since it increases fertility.
Which is something new, and I think it may be now.
Flowers are a traditional way to tell your sweetheart you love them this Valentine's Day. But this year, why not send a beautiful and edible bouquet. You might be surprised at your partner's reaction. Edible flowers include hibiscus, roses, and gladiolus.
Puts people in a good mood, makes them happy, feels good about themselves, receiving flowers, you know, smelling them, and especially when they receive them in front of other people, they feel kind of special.
If eating flowers sounds silly, consider how many herbs we ingest each year, several of which are aphrodisiacs, including rosemary, used to scent ancient baths, and basil, powerful at keeping the wandering eye close to home. Yet with page after page of recipes, that's not likely to be a problem this Valentine's Day, with treats for all of the body's senses. Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
In a city the size of Mayville, word of a heinous crime spreads fast. Jeff Anders was a single parent himself, raising 3 small children, but says he can't imagine ever leaving the children locked in the trunk of a parked car.
I just couldn't believe that somebody would actually do something like that.
But that's exactly what police say the 23-year-old Beaver Dam mother did Thursday at this Mayville factory, where she was working as a temporary employee. The car was parked next to the building near the noisiest line in the factory. Police say when the line is in operation, the noise level is so great that you can't even hear someone standing next to you, let alone a small child locked in a trunk. But a problem on the line forced it to shut down, just long enough for a salesman to hear the faint cries for help, where inside a trunk, the child was found frightened but unharmed.
Found what appeared to be about a 2 or 2.5-year-old boy sitting in the trunk, looking at him.
According to the criminal complaint, the mother initially denied putting the child in the trunk, but later changed her story, saying she put him there because she had no babysitter and no money to hire one. She also claimed it was an isolated incident, but later admitted leaving the child home alone for more than 7 hours the previous day. And today's TMJ4 has learned that the woman was cited by Beaver Dam police for leaving the child in a parked car while shopping when he was just 8 months old. The mother is due in court on Monday. Joanne Paul, NBC News, Mayville, Wisconsin.
Amongst our delegation. My concern, however, is that we've had other projects of, in my mind, higher priorities like the UMD Library, the deck, the Hartley Nature Center, the zoo, wastewater treatment problems in the townships around Duluth. And so I don't want any of those jeopardized because of the $14 million proposal for a new state park.
Does that mean you're in favor or against the...
To let me know. And yeah, he apparently tried to get on my private line and couldn't get through, and so he called his secretary, which was the main communication that he had during this beginning of the divorce procedure, and just let them know that he solved the problem and he's going to finish the problem off, and hung up, and that was that, you know.
After receiving that phone call, family friend Ed Lesniak decided to drive out to Woodland Drive and check on his friend Pat and Jerry Geddes. He found the body of Pat Geddes lying on the side of the road where she had been walking the dogs. Soon after, police found the body of Jerry Geddes dead at his home. The shooting shocked the quiet hunter community, but friends say they heard Jerry Geddes' forewarning months ago and very recently.
About a week or so ago, he had mentioned it again, but it kind of blew it off. So I figured, you know, anybody who talks about that usually doesn't follow through.
And what exactly was he saying?
Just exactly what he did. He said the only answer to this problem is to eliminate her, and then, of course, I can't live with that, so eliminate myself.
Married 47 years, friends say the Geddeses began to go their separate ways about 12 years ago. And recently, Pat had asked Jerry to move out and filed for divorce. Ed Lesniak says he consoled his friend and gave him advice. Advice Jerry Geddes did not listen to.
I thought he accepted it all. I did. But apparently not. He made his own decision, which he always did make his own decisions. And that's a pretty drastic one.
In Hunter, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
Like the stars and shine the moon, catch a moonbeam.
Moonbeams, planets, and stars captivated these kids' attention at UMD's planetarium as Beth Rourke and others taught the children about outer space.
What goes up must come down. Gravity does that.
And Jasmine demonstrated for the crowd how gravity works. Another child donned a spacesuit for the group's make-believe journey to the moon.
The moon does not have animals, and it doesn't have water, it doesn't have air, and it doesn't have gravity.
Organizers kept the kids' attention through songs about the universe. What was your favorite song?
Tico Tika. Because I like Tico Tika.
And the planetarium's unique design presented the galaxy in a way that awed the kids. Did you like the stars? How come?
Because they were too bright. I mean, it was too dark.
Traveling through outer space can do that to a person's senses. Even though these kids only pretended to blast off, most want to try the real thing when they grow up. And until then, they'll have the songs and the stars to learn from. In the Kids' Corner, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
What has to happen as far as transportation, all day, every day kindergarten.
Member Brewer, let me ask you a question. Your daughter's to the kindergarten or the
people like to have like to have the best salary.
I think the longer negotiations drag out, the more morale becomes a distinct consideration. It's very frustrating to teachers to find that certain types of positions, a superintendent's position, that contract negotiations always proceed very quickly. With teachers, they take a lot longer time.
Minnesota Power, Mark Phillips in the business development role, as well as in Duluth, works a little harder than the average person.
Facilities were involved and have been very enthusiastic.
This is the beginning of a new era for us, getting into the technology business and trying to develop Duluth as a technology center. We think that having a company the stature of DMR come is going to make others in the business sit up and take note and say, why are they going there?
Our business last year grew to 340.
Were involved and have been very enthusiastic, and this was not something that was done alone in terms of us bringing them here. As we said, it was a
Myth. Instead of building a veteran state park, we could spend the money on local roads and schools.
fact, the money for the Veterans State Park is part of legislation that is slated for that purpose only.
Commercials like this one are flooding the airwaves on all 3 networks here in the Northland. This one is paid for by the Veterans State Park Yes Committee. It receives funding from the Duluth Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Duluth Area Chamber of Commerce. Joel Cypress is an opponent to the ship. He says the current advertising war just isn't fair.
The other side has a lot of money, and a lot of big money interests are giving large contributions to the other side. But I do have to say, on the other hand, there are things that are more important than money. What we have is the common sense of Duluthians, as well as the volunteer efforts of countless ordinary citizens, both veterans and non-veterans. And so it's really the power of the people versus the power of big money.
Des Moines supporters are not releasing how much money they're spending on the advertising and refused our request for an on-camera interview concerning their campaign. A Department of Natural Resources spokesperson says the DNR isn't paying for the commercials, but it has been helping the pro-ship groups organize information and has been campaigning on its own as well, spending thousands of dollars in tax money. On the other side, Joel Cypress and his anti-Des Moines coalition have a budget of about $7,000.
The most important thing we're doing is we're just talking to thousands of ordinary people from one end of Duluth to the other, Gary, New Duluth to Lakeside, just talking to them about the issue and what we've been.
Cypress says that he hopes radio advertisements, buttons worn on jackets, and signs like these will be enough to convince Duluthians to vote against the ship. In downtown Duluth, Adam May, Channel 6 News. Dramatic medical calls like this one look straight out of the movies, but they happen almost every day in the Northland. As Duluth grows as a medical hub, helicopter rescues occur from as far away as International Falls and Ironwood, Michigan. A job with Life Flight can be a race against the clock, but this year it's also a race against El Nino.
This winter has been very, very bad for us. Even though it's been a very enjoyable winter in the Northland, we've had a lot of situations where there's been too much fog, we've had the clouds be a little too low, or when it's snowed or rained, it's been too close to the freezing mark, and the possibility of picking up ice on the helicopter is too great, and it's just been real difficult to fly.
Steve Durst is the director of St. Mary's Life Flight program. He says when the temperature floats around the freezing point, flying is extremely dangerous.
Two things that we have to always balance is, yes, there's somebody out there that needs our help, but are we going to put 4 or 5 other people in danger to save one who's gotten themselves into trouble?
Almost 40% of the helicopter rescues are canceled because of the weather. The problem is icing. Ice can easily build up on the blades of the chopper, which slows the air uplift and could make Life Flight fall like a rock. But Steve and his crew say that's just part of a day at the office.
It always has a very good feeling that we help save lives, and I don't think very many of us really think about the danger we have of our own. We work with this day in, day out. This is our job.
Using the same weather computers we use here at Channel 6, pilots look at satellite pictures and radar before flying. They also stand on the landing pad and look at the hillside. If the fog is so thick you can't see the antenna farm, they usually don't fly. But don't think for a minute that these guys aren't busy. Since 1989, 3,000 patients have been transported in this helicopter with every emergency possible, from premature childbirths to devastating car wrecks. Steve says the dangers are nothing compared to the rewards.
Favorite part of my job is when I get to see a patient that we have transported who's done well and is back a productive member of society.
On the roof of St. Mary's Hospital in Duluth, Adam May, Channel 6 News.
Our effort has been really focused during the last few days on telephone calls, and our compilations say quite clearly that there's been a significant amount of movement. People who in the past were quite adamant in their opposition have now moved into the undecided category.
Friends and relatives of Evelyn Malin stopped by the Dollar Lake store to pay their last respects with cards and flowers. The scene of the store 1 week ago was much less peaceful. Investigators combed the area looking for any clue that might explain who could have broken into the store and killed this 84-year-old shopkeeper. Now the store is closed and cars line the streets of McGregor as the community turned out to bid her farewell.
She's a good lady, good and friendly. She knew everybody, I think. And everybody knew her.
Very nice lady. She knew a lot about everything.
Vicki Sample says it's hard to imagine who could have taken the life of such a warm, giving woman.
A really awful person, I don't know, could do that to her. There was no reason for it, you know. You could have walked off with the store when she was sitting there and nobody would have, you know, she wouldn't hurt anybody.
Many people shopped at the store, and they say Malin was a friendly smile, the kind of service you just don't get anymore.
She was a sweet little old lady with a little business, friendly.
The flowers at the Dollar Lake store are one way people here are remembering Evelyn Malin, but those people haven't forgotten that her murderer remains on the loose. In Shamrock Township near McGregor, Adam May, Channel 6 News.
I talked to a kid just this morning, not an hour ago, and he was saying that he was confronted, his first time ever with methamphetamines, and they were actually green. I mean, and that's how impure these substances are coming out to be.
Kids are the primary targets of crank. The drug is cheap to make and easy to get in the Northland, and students say they're hearing more every day from kids who are being offered methamphetamines.
Lately, I think a lot more with the younger kids, where they're are being pressured by the upperclassmen and stuff to start trying stuff.
This public awareness spot warns of the highly addictive nature of crank and the devastating consequences it can have.
What would make you rape someone you love?
What would make you shoot your best friend?
What would make you cut off your own son's head?
What would make you try crank?
One of the main concerns with crank is that it's often manufactured in makeshift labs like this one by people with very little knowledge of chemistry. The problem then is twofold. One, the chemical process can create poisonous fumes injuring those making the drug. And two, if the chemical balance isn't exactly right, the crank produced can be deadly. Unfortunately, it's pretty easy to learn how to make methamphetamine. We found several recipes for it here on the internet within minutes. It's also pretty easy to come by the ingredients in crank. The main ingredient is ephedrine. And this is medicine found in cold pills and sometimes in asthma medication. You can buy this legal drug over the counter in most drugstores and even in some convenience stores. The manufacturing process calls for the use of some corrosive material to create the chemical reaction necessary to crystallize the methamphetamine. All kinds of legal substances are used for this, like brake cleaner or Drano. But in the manufacturing process, it's easy to make mistakes. And this homemade crank often makes users very sick. Doctors at Cloquet's Memorial Hospital know the effects all too well.
You can get complete heart failure. You can have strokes and heart attacks at young ages.
Police say they believe the growing amount of crank they're finding may be coming from labs set up in the Northland, and they're concerned about its quality.
There's going to be some phony recipes out there. They don't really know what they're going to get. You mix different chemicals together, you could end up with just about anything.
Those are powerful drugs, and you can get into problems with elevated blood pressure. People can have strokes, heart attacks, and then it's all the psychological things that it does to you.
Experts say it often causes a user to become violent and paranoid.
A young man was staying with his grandmother because his parents were involved with drugs. He came home, thought his sweet little grandmother was a narcotics officer, became very paranoid, pulled out a pitchfork, and stabbed his grandmother in the abdomen with a pitchfork.
Authorities say parents have to be warned about the dangers and look for signs that their kids might be experimenting with methamphetamines.
You can get it at the beginning, if you can get it up front and deal with it right away, you can stop it. The longer they do it, the longer they get away with it, the more they're going to do.
Minnesota Attorney General Skip Humphrey believes crank is just as dangerous as heroin or cocaine, and he wants to see penalties increased to the same level. Currently, first-degree charges for sale or possession require up to 20 times more crank than heroin or coke. Humphrey also wants to see a separate crime created for the manufacture of crank. Right now, it's only part of a trafficking offense. The Minnesota legislature will consider Humphrey's suggestions this session. Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
The temperatures have come back and we're getting some fresh snow. It's really good now. We've made 56 million gallons of water into snow, which is up from normally 43 to 46 million. So even with the warm weather that we had and the rain, we've got plenty of base, no bare spots, and with the new snow, the skiing is really great.
Neighborhood policing, street beat cops, community policing. Call it what you like, but whatever the name, the mission remains the same. Officers that build trust with the residents in the areas they patrol.
The citizens want to have some say in how they're policed. And community policing involves getting that partnership of cops and community members together to figure those things out.
Officers say the new Lincoln Park substation will help enhance that goal by bringing the police, school district representatives, St. Louis County Social Services, and other agencies together under one roof.
Well, I'll be working in a collaborative project that has to do with intake assessment for juveniles who are arrested. But our basic community policing functions will still be carried on in this building, too.
The people we talked with in this Lincoln Park neighborhood say community policing is a great idea. They'd like to see more of it. These high school students say they've noticed the changes in their neighborhood.
That's why I used to go down to Lincoln Park to play basketball every day, but
Other residents have already seen the effects.
I think that the community policing has made an impact. I like the fact that I think the police are more accessible. I feel like I know some of the officers better. I think it's a wonderful idea.
We found that it works. It allows us to stay ahead of the curve on crime problems. It allows us to be proactive instead of reactive, and it's been a good deal for everybody.
In Lincoln Park, Adam May, Channel 6 News.
There's a lot of activity going on at Miller Hill Mall. Wilson's, Goodman's Jewelers, and Gordon's Jewelers are in the middle of or are planning major renovations. And at least 9 stores have left the mall in recent months. No more sports apparel at Team Spirit. No more women's clothes at Lerner. And the Naturalizer is closing on April 15th. All this activity has some wondering what will be coming to fill these open spots.
I think it's a pretty small mall compared to what I'm used to, but I don't know. I'm excited for the new stores and stuff.
So what stores are coming? Ritz Camera opens Friday, and Eddie Bauer's on the way, to the delight of some.
Well, I really like American Eagle. I'm really happy they came in because, I don't know, I like their clothes. I don't know.
Eddie Bauer's going to have a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
You say they're coming in?
Yeah, more variety. That'll be kind of fun.
Disney is reported to be putting a store in the Naturalizer and Express spots. The Gap may also be coming to fill Lerner's old store. The mall hasn't confirmed these yet, but the possibility is enough to excite some shoppers.
I just go to the Gap a lot. That's my store I like, so I'm really excited for that one.
People may not know what's coming, but they do know what they'd like to see.
I'd like to see a software superstore. You know, there's like Comp USA down in the cities and some of those stores that are just spectacular in electronics, and we don't really have anything like that up here.
So what other stores would you like to see come in?
Old Navy would be kind of cool. More variety. I don't know. I like that. Shop around.
Okay. Other than the Eddie Bauer store, Miller Hill management will not release the names of the other stores that may be coming here to the mall. But they did tell Channel 6 today that within 3 weeks, they plan to do just that. In Duluth, Justin Acree, Channel 6 News.
And it was immediately over the PA system. Everyone report to the cafeteria gym, all elementary staff, and everyone was there immediately. And we had no reason, we had no warning about what it was for or anything.
Really together so everybody has the facts, everybody has everybody to ask questions.
It's a complicated process that endures months of compromise, pork barreling by state lawmakers, and sometimes it takes a chainsaw to make your voice heard. But this year, many feel the Minnesota legislature has not only been efficient, but also generous to projects across the Northland.
Well, actually, we're ecstatic with the amount of money we got. I had Senator Langseth, the co-chair of the bonding committee, said you better back your semi up to the door because you did so well down here.
As long as Governor Carlson doesn't veto the bill, here's a look at some of this year's biggest winners of state funding. A state-of-the-art library at UMD costing $22.3 million will replace the aging facility.
The library is going to be the campus center. I think we have not had a really adequate library for a long time. This one will be high-tech. We'll have all the computer wiring built in, and it's going to be, I think, the centerpiece for the campus.
Under the bonding bill, Lake Superior Zoo also won more than $1 million for a new animal care facility. Zoo Director Mike Janis has seen requests cut before, but not this year.
Still, until we see the fact that everything is signed, sealed, and delivered, we're still a little apprehensive, but we feel a whole lot better about this than we ever have before.
Another Duluth project that could walk away with big bucks is the deck. Although the expansion is slightly downsized, city officials are pleased.
Going down, we were told we had to have a dollar-for-dollar match, and they were successful in convincing them that we just don't have the tax base that Minneapolis-St. Paul does. We really were the only significant-sized convention center that got money without that one-to-one match.
So while the city of Duluth will donate $8 million to the project, the state kicked in $12 million. Other Northland funding projects receiving state money are the Hibbing Community College, which will get $16 million to merge campuses. Both Proctor and Hermantown will receive $1 million for new community centers. Split Rock Lighthouse will get a $780,000 facelift, and Ely also walks away with a couple $1 million for a new revenue department, and the city will get funding for improvements at the Wolf Center. Only a few projects lost out this year, such as the $14 million USS Des Moines, which will not be sailing into the Duluth Harbor anytime soon, and a different UMD request for $1 million in classroom renovations was cut late in the session. But all in all, close to 10% of state money is aimed at Northland projects. With your legislative wrap-up, Adam May, Channel 6 News.